So, hello everyone, and welcome to STW Sports. I'm host Samuel Wright, and today I'm joined by Borussia Dortmund fan Jordan Hunt. But of course, I mentioned Jordan's a Borussia Dortmund fan. This isn't about club football, of course. This is about the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. Jordan, of course, myself and Jordan both English. Of course, I'm living in Spain right now, but still supporting England at this tournament. We'll speak about England first, Jordan. Of course, England didn't play today at the time of recording. Today's Thursday. England played on Monday, but it was a great win for England, 6-2 against Iran. And yes, people will probably point out that it's only Iran, but England have struggled against these sorts of oppositions at World Cups and even Euros before. So great to get that first win. And yeah, of course, a Borussia Dortmund player, Jude Bellingham, standing out, scoring the opening goal as well. And many people's man of the match in that game, but a brilliant start for England, it's fair to say. It felt like a bit of a statement win, really, and there will be tougher tests to come. But England, though, great start.
Yeah, I agree. I think because in World Cup form, England has never been free flowing, and just seeing them rocking the goals on Monday was a brilliant sight and quite a surprise as well. As I said, after 35 minutes, it was still 0-0 when I was looking at it from a Google search, and I thought, it's going to be one of them boring type games. But then when I heard it was 3-0 at half time, I thought, well done, England. I caught the second half and I was blown away by how free flowing England was. Yeah, it might have helped that the game was probably done and dusted by then, but England looked like they already won the attack any minute or so, and I think they've got a good chance. It's the World Cup. It will differ because, as I said, I don't trust England's defence because I know Harry Maguire he's been in and out, and unfortunately he had blurred vision on Monday, but he might be okay for the game against the USA tomorrow, but I don't know yet. But yeah, the defence is probably the one that does shock me the most, and I don't trust it as much. But I think the attack is where we can be free flowing. But as long as everyone's on the same page, then I don't see why England can't have a good run.
Yeah, fingers crossed, John. You make a good point there. I think about free flowing football. I've kind of always said about international tournaments that not many teams really win tournaments playing amazing football. I mean, obviously, you look at the great Spain team back in 2010, most of their games were 1-0 wins. You know, they kind of edged teams out in terms of quality. But not many teams really win tournaments playing amazing football. I mean, maybe France in 2018, they had certain games where they blow teams away, like Argentina and Croatia in the final. But looking at most of their games in that tournament, it wasn't even that convincing. And I feel like it's difficult to play well the whole tournament. But I think the positive for England was, I know people will say it's only Iran, but the confidence we seem to play with and certain players like, Saka playing really well, Bellingham, Rashford scoring when he came on, Jack Grealish even getting himself a goal. And even though Harry Kane, our main man, didn't score, he still played a big part in the game. And that was the thing. But the only disappointment, Jordan, I agree with you, is we did concede 2 goals. I mean, every time Iran went forward, they looked threatening. And I'm just thinking that's against a better team. With all due respect to Iran, that's not a good sign because I know one of their goals was a penalty, but I just feel like defensively we weren't at our best. And yes, that might be because at that point the game was done and we could afford to be a bit more open and concede a goal. But it's a bit worrying, I think, like you say. I mean, going with the back four, I mean, Trippier has been fantastic for Newcastle this season. It's the rest of the back four I've got a bit of worries about. I mean, Pickford's always been brilliant for England, but I think Maguire and Shaw have always played well for England, but they've been, not since the Euros last year, really, they've been on pretty poor form for Manchester United since then. And I do rate John Stones, but I do think that he's very much helped by Man City's system. So I feel like put him in an England team and it's a bit different. For me, I don't know if you'll agree, John, it reminded me quite a lot of when England played Panama in 2018, but a lot of our goals in that game were set pieces. They weren't exactly goals that blew England fans away. The difference in this game was we scored some really good goals, and I think that was the most encouraging thing for England. But still questions on England's defence, it's fair to say.
Yeah, that's true. The midfield is a question as well because, as I said, I know you've got Jude Bellingham, and as I said, he's representing Dortmund, and he's great in midfield. But the one thing that does concern me at times with him is he likes to go too much up front as well. He likes to get. I know he wants to be a part of the goals and set them up, but then again, you've got no one behind, and yeah, we've got Declan Rice. But as I said, if somebody like goes down, if there's no Rice there, you've got Calvin Phillips, and he's been injured for the majority of this season so far. So him being in the English squad is questionable. But then again, this is England because who else have we got? Yeah, we could have had James Ward-Prowse, and I understand the levels in it, but at the same time, I think Southgate should have chosen the squad that's had enough games. I know it hasn't helped with the congestion fixtures being happening every 3 days, and it's affected a lot of teams. Like Dortmund's been affected with injuries, but I won't digress on the Dortmund, even though I probably would on one days. But yes, I think with England, it's going to be tough, but it's, as I said, they're going to have to rely on the attack, and if the attack score goals, then they're just going to have to score score more than the other opponents. As I said, they can never do a 0-0 game because I don't see England doing that. But as I said, England have surprised me. They surprised me at the last World Cup, so hopefully something might happen this season. As I said, I know we all like to make fun of England as a joke to say, "Oh, it's not coming home where it is." But as I said, we got to support them when we can. And as I said, America or the USA tomorrow, we'll see how that goes. They did look good against Wales from what I saw, but then again in the second half they didn't take their chances, and Wales capitalised on that penalty, and it was a definite penalty. But I think England have got a good shot this for the group, and I said if they win that, then they'll face the runners up in Group A, and that will either be Netherlands, Senegal, Qatar, or Ecuador. So my guess will be Ecuador, but as I said, it's too early doors to predict the knockout stages. But from now on, I say England just need to figure out if they're going to stick with 4-3-3 or four at the back. It might help England with the attack, but the defence, no, because as I said, we played in the back far before, and we've tried that, and sometimes it works, but when the pressure's on, it doesn't work. As I say, we do get broken down easily, but it'll be one of them.
Yeah, no, I do agree there, Jordan. I think that the system Southgate plays is certainly is going to be questioned a lot throughout the tournament. I feel like he might tailor his formation to whoever we're playing. So I feel like when we come up against a more difficult team, he might go to 5 at the back or obviously 3 at the back with 2 wing backs. However he wants to play it, but yeah, I think for teams like Iran, playing 4 at the back's probably the right thing. So I do think it helps us going forward. And I think that showed on Monday, to be honest, though, how fluent we were and stuff, like free-flowing going forward. It was an impressive performance, but again, defensively, a little bit to work on. But I feel like when we play, I think USA and Wales, we can still probably afford to play 4 at the back in them games as well. But when it comes to maybe the knockout stages, if we get there, which is looking quite likely, and we come up against a real, good opponent, maybe Southgate will change it up a little bit. I think that's a big question with this England team. I think that as well as we've done in tournaments in the last couple of tournaments, whenever we've played a so-called big team, we've even, the likes of Croatia and even Italy, who beat us, of course, in the final at the Euros. Let's be honest. Italy are a team who haven't qualified for 2 World Cups in a row. So it's kind of strange with that, really. That was a big opportunity, but I think that game was obviously very different because obviously it was at Wembley. It was a final. It was it was obviously a huge game. But this World Cup, though, I feel like with what I've seen from other teams so far, it's there for the take in this tournament. A couple of teams have impressed, like obviously Spain and France, who we'll get on to. But obviously Brazil have just played at the time of recording. And to be honest, for about 60 minutes, I wasn't overly impressed with Brazil, to be honest. I feel like they were a bit slow. Yes, Serbia, to be fair, are a good team, so that was always going to be difficult to break them down. And I think one thing that stands out with Serbia, they're a very tall team as well. So I feel like with terms of set pieces, they're going to be a real threat in this tournament. But the only problem for me with Serbia in the game just gone was they didn't show any ambition going forward. And, as good as Brazil might be on paper, I still think that defence can be got at, especially in the fullback areas. So I think that was the only shame watching the game. But we'll get onto that game in a moment, John. But now we're going to speak about the first game of the tournament just briefly. Obviously, Qatar v Ecuador on paper certainly isn't the most mouth-watering opening World Cup game. But, a lot of people, for me, overestimated Qatar coming into this tournament saying, oh, they're the host, it's going to lift them. I was one of them people who didn't believe that at all. I said that if Qatar do anything in this tournament, I'll be very surprised. And to be honest, I think watching them on Sunday, I think I've been proven right because, they looked very, very poor. I don't want to criticise them too much, but yeah, Qatar, it wasn't a good performance even for the hosts at all. I mean, they looked like a group of players who, for me, had never played together in their lives. I mean, it wasn't a great performance. But as for Ecuador, I think Ecuador for me could be a team people are sleeping on a little bit. I feel like they could actually be a bit better in this tournament than what people think. But yeah, fair play to Ecuador, 2-0 win. But as for Qatar, I mean, unfortunately, they do look like a team who are just here to make up the numbers.
Yeah, I believe so. I know. I think the group was joined back in June because they wanted to prepare for the World Cup. So in June they got all together and prepared. And they probably did the pre-season games. I'm not quite sure. I can't. Maybe it's a lie, but I think, as I said, it's a long run to try and prepare for a World Cup when you don't have any quality players in that team. As I said, I don't want to disregard them as well. It's as they're the hosts, and as I said, it's been controversial how they got it, but it's too late to moan about it now. As I said, we can all moan and all moan about the, the politics behind it, but on the football side, that's what I want to focus on. And yeah, they didn't look that great. As I said, like a lot of people will question the VAR from as of within 3 minutes, it would have been a goal, but as I said, just that little brief second, it was offside. Now, I do believe it was offside from VAR's check. I can understand from the free throwing of it, it looked a goal, but then again, it made no difference because Ecuador scored. And as I said, they look even good. As I said, the keeper for Qatar, he was definitely nervous. For this penalty he conceded, you could tell that he hesitated. Any other keeper would have been able to say that or got to him straight away. And I just think maybe the second game we will see what happens, but I think it's too late for that now. I think they won't improve. They'll get 0 points. If they get a goal, then I'll be quite surprised. And I will be quite surprised. And I'm not trying to say that's down to VAR or somebody trying to pay them off. But yeah, they're just not there. They are there to make the numbers. But as I said, we'll see how it goes. But Ecuador can be a tough side. So as I said, people shouldn't write them off. As I said, they might get first or second. I'm still tipping Holland to go first. But as I said, the World Cup has caused a lot of drama and a lot of people, a lot of teams to realise. Just look at what's happened to Argentina and what happened to Germany yesterday. So anything's possible in this World Cup. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I agree. To be honest, that offside decision so early in the game was just so typical with all the whole, talk coming into the tournament about all the, political side of it and stuff. And then the replay that was shown on BBC, what I was watching, I mean, it just didn't show any offside at all. And I was thinking that's not going to please people at home. And as you can imagine, social media, I'm sure yours well blew up with so much drama. But when you actually looked at the full replay, it was actually offside. But I think the replay that was originally shown was just not offside. So it was very confusing from a fan's point of view. But it just had to happen in the first couple of minutes of a game. And everyone was thinking, what's going on here? How's this been ruled out? But yeah, I mean, like you say, I'm the same as you. I'll be surprised if Qatar score a goal. I was actually saying on a show yesterday, I think Sadio Mane will be gutted he's injured because if he played against Qatar, he could have got a few goals in that game. So, and I also feel like, I mean, Netherlands have obviously got Gakpo. I don't think Netherlands have one particular player who can fill their boots in that game, but even a Netherlands player who's a forward can look at this and go, I can get a few goals here, especially if they play like they did on Sunday, Qatar. But that's one team we're going to speak about anyway. But now we're going to move on to the upsets in the tournament so far. And we've got to start with Argentina v Saudi Arabia. I don't think anyone predicted this. I mean, Argentina 1, Saudi Arabia 2. I mean, Saudi Arabia announced a public holiday the day after. This result was so big. I mean, honestly, unbelievable win. I mean, Argentina, all this talk coming into the tournament, they're unbeaten since 2019, I think in the summer of 2019. Oh, wow. Obviously, all this talk about it being Messi's happy ending. And obviously, all this talk about, they're going to do well and win the tournament. And I was one of the people who backed them to win the tournament. I can't believe this result. 2-1 loss. And I mean, what a result for Saudi Arabia, though. And to be honest, Saudi Arabia played so well in this game. And to be honest, I think they actually deserved to win. They really played with their heart on the line. And what a result for Saudi Arabia. Certainly one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history.
Oh, definitely. As I said, like that country, the country should be proud of themselves because beating the likes of Messi in Argentina, as I said, it's no easy doing, and they've done well. So I'll congratulate them there. From Argentina's point of view, yes, this is a very big shock, and this is a very big wake up call. Because I know everyone talks about Messi's being last World Cup and all that kind of stuff, but then again, we should never focus on one player for a certain country because Argentina, as I said, they played together a long time, so they should know what these teams are like. And as I said, they played so many times against these type of teams that will sit back and try and hit them on the counter. And it just shows that you can get. I'm not saying Saudi Arabia were lucky, but at the same time, Argentina should have took their chances because you could clearly tell that if, as I said, they just didn't score that just one penalty, that it could have been 3-2. But then again, as I said, I'm not disrespecting Saudi Arabia. They did a great uh, team, and it was a great goal, great two goals that they scored, and as a well done to them. But Argentina's side, it will be a wake up call now for the next game. As I said, it will be different for how they approach it for the next game, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jordan. I think that, as you mentioned, Argentina had 3 goals ruled out by VAR. VAR, I think it was, or just general offside. I don't think it was all VAR, but obviously the offside goals as well. No, Saudi Arabia undoubtedly rode their luck, but you've got to do that in tournaments when you're the underdog. I don't think any team can, do well in a tournament, the underdogs, and not have much luck along the way. I think it sounds, it's going to be a lot to tell from here because of people who might say, oh, it's a one-off win for Saudi Arabia, but really, if Saudi Arabia win their next game, and looking at the way Mexico and Poland played, who were also in the group, on against each other on Monday, I don't have too much hope for them two teams either. I think that Poland are a team who I think obviously they've got Lewandowski up front, always a bonus, but it never seems to work for them in tournaments. They just never seem to have, never seem to do it in tournaments for me. So I feel like I don't really back Poland to do very well. And Mexico, I think this is probably the worst Mexico team on paper we've seen at a World Cup for many years. I mean, obviously the goalkeeper Ochoa always seems to turn up in World Cups. I don't know why, but he's one of them who always seems to do really well at every World Cup since 2010.
Well, he happens for every 4 years and then comes back to do a magnificent performance like he did and save that goal or penalty against Lewandowski. So, yeah, that's the typical of Ochoa and typical of Mexico. But I can understand where you're coming from. Yeah, Mexico, well, they don't look that great on paper. And, their striker, Raul Jimenez, he's been injured for the majority of the season. So him coming to Mexico, even to the squad, is a bit controversial. But then again, it's one of them. Like the only person that I do think is good is that Lazaro for Mexico. He's a good winger. He's played well for Napoli this season. So he's probably the only one that I'd be a bit concerned of. But the rest of them is a bit. The midfield is aging. With Hector Herrera, he's still going strong, but he's that foot, and that Godardo, he's aging as well. And then the defense doesn't really pop out for me. But yeah, going on to Poland's side now, as I said, like since Lewandowski, we know that he's a brilliant striker. It's just weird when it comes to World Cup or even the qualifiers. They don't seem that great half the time. As I said, they sometimes ride their luck, and it's going to be one of the cases where Poland have to do the same just to get through. Yeah, you can always rely on Lewandowski, but that's the problem. If you have to rely on one person just to break you out every game, that it's not going to work. They've got some good players, Poland, but as I said, when it comes to internationals, it's very different. So, yeah, Saudi Arabia have got their chance, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't too convinced with either team, to be honest. I feel like Mexico, a lot of people said Mexico and Poland would be a bit of a goal fest, and I kind of agreed in a way. But I think looking at this Mexico team on paper, for me, it's definitely the worst one I've seen at a World Cup for a very long time because they're usually a team, Mexico, who come into tournaments and you kind of say they're going to go, you back them for the last 16 or the quarterfinals. I know they've got this run where they always go out in the last 16 at the moment, but it's going to be tough to see who gets out of the group this year. And with Saudi Arabia, they've beaten Argentina, the confidence that'll give them as well. I mean, if they win their next game, they're pretty much through, and that would be a huge shock. And it sounds amazing, but I think we've, obviously living here in Spain, I mean, I've been speaking to people who've lived in Argentina and who've been there and even Mexico. they were saying that Mexican fans would love to beat Argentina because there's a bit of a rivalry there from Mexico's side. So that will be a game Mexico will be fully motivated for, I'm sure. But I do think Argentina will still get through. I think they'll turn. I mean, they've got to turn up now. Really, I mean, they were quite lucky to get out of the group in 2018, really. But I feel like now it's this is a big time for them, and with the loss and the manner of it, it's going to have to be a big turnaround in the tournament if they go on to win it. Next upset in the tournament, then, you know which game I'm going to mention. It's Germany versus Japan. Germany won, Japan 2. Now, I was actually someone who wasn't very hopeful for Germany coming into this tournament. And the big reason for that was the lack of a forward. So, obviously, Germany do have some talented players. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, John, you watch German football on a regular basis with being a Borussia Dortmund fan. Germany, for me, one thing that stands out about this current Germany team is they don't have the characters they once did in their team. I mean, growing up for me, Germany has so many big characters like, Michael Ballack, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Philipp Lahm, Jens Lehmann, and obviously Manuel Neuer taking over Lehmann. Big characters, and I know Manuel Neuer is still there now, but, big characters who, in the team. But I feel like they just don't have that now, Germany. For me, it feels like a team who have got promise, but there's not really enough big characters in the team to drag them out of a difficult situation. And I think that showed in this game. Japan just wanted it so much more, in my opinion. And I think if Japan were more clinical throughout the game, they could have won this by even more. But I just feel like once the Japan manager got the subs absolutely spot on. And for me, that's what won them the game.
Yes.
But really, Germany, this is concerning. With Spain coming up next and Japan playing Costa Rica, I think this could be Germany's second consecutive World Cup group stage exit because with the confidence Spain are going to have in that game and the fact looking at the lack of confidence Costa Rica are going to have against Japan, for me, Germany are in big trouble right now. And this was not an ideal start.
Yeah, I agree. As I said, it doesn't help. They don't have that great forward. They've got, as I said, they are relying on Sané. He's been good for Bayern, but then he's inconsistent. They would have been relying on Timo Werner, but he got injured just around October and November time, just before the World Cup. So that didn't help their cause because he got injured against Shakhtar. I've never seen it briefly that game. So, but he would have played, and I know Werner's very, hit and miss. As I said, he's done okay at Leipzig so far, but as I said, he's hit and miss, and that's Timo Werner. But then again, he would have probably started this game. As I said, they've also got Nico Füllkrug from Werder Bremen. But as I said, he's done well to get into the squad, but will he be relied on though? Because Hansi Flick is a very stubborn character, and this is the problem that I think, as I said, you've relied on. I said they don't have any strong top players. Yeah, they got Neuer and Kimmich from Bayern because you got that mentality there. And as I said, Hansi Flick knows them from their time as he used to be the coach at Bayern. But I just think, yeah, from the looks of it, it looks dead in the water. But as I said, they need to turn up. They need to turn up now. As I said, there's no Marco Reus, but then again, it's a shame for him and it's a shame for Dortmund fans. I was one of the two. I'm not being disrespectful, but I didn't really mind as much because, as I said, I love Marco Reus, but as I said, you've got to think about your health first. And as I said, Germany's squad is they've been hampered by injuries as well. As I said, that Musiala, he's a great player. As I said, he's the wonder kid for Bayern, wonder kid for Germany. So they got to step up, and they got to step up the next game on Sunday against Spain, or else, as I said, it would be dim and gloom. And as I said, the way Spain are going right now, that 7-0. As I said, their fans will be happy. The squad looks good. They could win it. I don't have any real winners or any real standout winner who could win the World Cup. It depends on what happens in each game. But yeah, Spain just looking free flowing as they did against Costa Rica. So as I said, I will predict them to beat Germany and Germany to be knocked out. But then it would depend on the last game as well, just in case. But as I said, the way Japan are doing, yeah, as I said, they'll beat Costa Rica the way things are. But then again, we might be too soon to talk about it because of the way the upsets have happened. So another upset might happen under the cards, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, going back to Germany, yeah, it doesn't look hopeful for them.
No, I agree. I think obviously Spain as well. What a win for them yesterday. I feel like with Spain, obviously living here this year, I spoke a lot about the World Cup to fans in the build up, especially when I first moved here, obviously, with the World Cup coming at a different time this year. And I feel like when I spoke to Spanish people, it just didn't really feel like they were that optimistic, to be honest. I mean, I've been speaking to Spanish people about it for a couple of months, and it's not really until the tournament started. Where I mean, that's like most people, I'm sure, all over the world. It wasn't really until the tournament started that optimism kicked in for them. And I feel like with Spain as well, they're a country who, let's be honest, have been quite spoiled in the last, 15 years. Obviously, they won 2 Euros and a World Cup. So, and that was with a generation of players who, let's be honest, is probably one of the best generation of players we're ever going to see. That was a fantastic group of players, especially in the midfield. And I think understandably so since then. I mean, obviously, the end of that team was 2014 when they went out in the group stage. But at that point, that team was really getting on. And I feel like that was why they exited. And I think since then, it's kind of been a story of Spain have been trying to bring through the young players. And to be fair to the manager, Luis Enrique, he has done that in this tournament. He has bought a lot of young players. However, there is a little bit of Barcelona bias, in my opinion. But I do think that the players like Gavi and Pedri are definitely there on merit because they are two fantastic midfielders. And I'm not saying they're going to be the new champion Iniesta because they've got a long way to go to achieve that, but they certainly could be two players who carry this next generation of midfielders at Spain. And I just feel like Spain have got a very fresh feel to the team at the moment. And yes, I don't personally think they'll win the tournament. I think that it's a little bit too far for this team right now, but I do think though that Spain just got a very fresh feel, and it could be a tournament for Spain to maybe take advantage, really, because I don't like to say there's not really a standout team in the tournament. And with a 7-0 win in your first game, the confidence that's going to give them is going to be absolutely massive. So do you think, Jordan, that Spain can look at this and go, yes, this is a very young team, but it's a team that if they can click in like every game, they certainly could win the tournament?
Exactly. As I said, if you don't click as a team, then you could have all the stars in the world, all the stars in the team. If it doesn't click, it won't work for you. As I said, we've seen many uh, World Cups in where the teams look good on paper, but as I said, the chemistry doesn't work. But this time, Spain do look good. As I said, it's a long way to predict them to win, but I do, see them going forward if everything clicks because with the way it's free flowing for them as well. Because the goals were great against Costa Rica. Yes, they come one after another, and it does help when you got players like Gavi, Pedri, working well. As I said, there's no Sergio Ramos, and that was quite a surprise for me at the time. But then again, it's justified as well because I think Spain can rely on them with their back four as well. But it just depends. But I think it'll be one of them where we'll see what happens. Spain, as I said, they've got a good show, they've got a good team, and as I said, the manager Luis Enrique is a good manager, so he'll be able to get them into the mentality shape of preparing for the next game. As I said, we've seen them even last year, even last World Cup. As I said, they were doing well. Yeah, they lost to Russia, and that was quite surprising, but that was a different team then. But Spain, as I said, they got the quality for it, so they can go far, and I can predict that.
Yeah, so John, I will touch on the final game of last night, Belgium versus Canada. And the reason I want to touch on this game is because people might look at the result and who haven't watched the game say, 1-0 win for Belgium must have been quite dull. It wasn't really the case at all, to be honest. Canada played so well in this game. I mean, Canada threw absolutely everything at Belgium, and they did. They can really give themselves a huge pat on the back for that. However, I think the disappointment for me if I was a Canada fan would be they just didn't test Courtois enough, and I feel like that was the only problem from this game. I think with Belgium, I look at their team, and I'm sure you agree, Jordan. It's a very old team now, and I feel like Belgium's golden generation has really ran its course because it's not. They've still got a lot of them players from the original, the likes of Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Eden Hazard, Witsel, but these players are not the same as they were a few years ago. I don't think Belgium realised that. I think that obviously you look at where these players have gone. I mean, yes, Hazard is still a Real Madrid player, but for someone who's watched Real Madrid a lot this season, he barely plays. I don't think I've seen him play on the pitch all season, actually, when I've been the game. So he doesn't really play anymore. And that's all, of course, mainly down to the rise of Vinicius Jr. at Real Madrid. But I just feel like Belgium, yes, they got the win, and it's a good win. But if Belgium were playing a good team yesterday, I think they could have been absolutely destroyed. I think it could have been about 4 or 5. So for me, it's concerning going forward for Belgium. I'm not tipping Belgium to do well at all in this tournament. I feel like they'll really come unstuck against a good team. But Canada kind of fell into that category of teams who look good going forward, but getting into the final third, they just lack a lot of quality in that area.
Yeah, I agree. As I said, they have some good players. That Davis, he's the standout star for them, and that Jonathan David, two good players. But but that's it. I think Canada, they need to gel quickly if they want to get far in this World Cup. And this is they tested Qatar, then it could have been a different story. As I said, they can pat themselves on the back. As you said, they can play with a heart of gold. But I think you need to test these type of teams. I know Belgium are a big side, and as I said, they've got good quality. But I agree with you on the Belgium side. As I said, it's run its course. It's aging well. You still got De Bruyne and the likes of Eden Hazard. But as I said, Eden Hazard hasn't played all season. De Bruyne is still De Bruyne. He's brilliant. But as I said, like there's just a lot of players in that Belgian squad that just shouldn't even be there. I'm going to be honest. Like Eden, Torgan Hazard, and Thomas Meunier haven't justified their selection. And I will be honest, no, that's not being biased in Dortmund. I just think they haven't done that quite well. And I know Belgium are trying to get their youth up, and I just think I can understand they brought the experienced players because I think their youth isn't just ready yet. They've got a bit of mixture. That Jeremy Doku from Rennes, he's a good player, but as I said, they just rely on the bench. You need to, I think, Belgium have realised that they need experience, and I think that's why they're going with it. As I said, going with the Vertonghen and Alderweireld. Yeah, as I said, like they've run its course, but they've gone with experience. But this time, it's not going to help them at all. As I said, so they'll get through to the knockout stages, and I think that's where they'll make their match against a good side. So yeah, I'm not predicting much out from them this time.
Yeah, I agree, man. I completely agree with you there. I think that Belgium are a team who, I think the group's kind of a generous one. They're playing a very aging Croatia team. Morocco, another team yesterday when I watched them, looked like a team who were good going forward. When they got to that final third area, they just didn't really have that quality. And I think barring Ziyech and Hakimi, they just don't really have. I mean, those two, obviously, Hakimi's a right back, so there's only so much a right back can do in that area. But I feel like in that sort of position, that's where Morocco let themselves down. And I feel like that will get Belgium for the group. But I feel like as soon as they play a team of quality, I do think they will go out. I think haven't really got that promise. And I feel like come, the next Euros, even in Germany in a couple of years, this Belgium team for me is going to look completely different. And I think barring possibly the likes of, Tillemans and De Bruyne will probably still be around at that point, and even Courtois, I feel that's going to be a very weaker team maybe. So I think that Belgium, I think this golden generation kind of had its opportunity now, and I definitely feel like it has ran its course. But we'll touch on a game from today, actually, and that is Brazil-Serbia. I mean, obviously, we could talk about Portugal-Ghana briefly and just mention how that game really woke up in the final 20 minutes, to be honest, because up until that, it was quite a dull game, really. I mean, Portugal, for me, obviously, a lot of talk in this tournament been involved about Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously, who's had his contract terminated by Manchester United, understandably so after the interview. I feel like a lot of drama around the penalty decision. To be fair to Ghana, though, they did play well. They really give it a good go today. I feel like the good thing in this tournament for me is most underdogs are really giving it a go. I think no one's really fearing anyone. I feel like everyone's giving it a good go. Ghana did that today. Yes, the game opened up, and ultimately that was why Portugal won. But though you look at the end, though, the goalkeeper really got away with one at the end. I mean, that could have been catastrophic if the player didn't slip over. It would have been a point for Ghana and a very unlikely one. But yeah, Portugal quite fortunate to get away with this one, it's got to be said, but quite an entertaining game in the end, but a game that really only came to life once Ronaldo scored his penalty. But it's got to be said, though, I mean, again, probably one of the games of the tournament so far, if you're just going off that final 20 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I think Portugal are a side that, as I said, like they've got the quality going forward, but they are most reliant and most efficient when they are counter attacking. So once they first goal in, they sat back a bit, not straight away. Then it was 1-1. As I said, they rode. It was a bit of a luck. It went through the defender's legs and fell to AU that got his goal. So fair play to them. But then Portugal hit them on the bounce, and so as I said, they got a good. Portugal got the quality there, and I think, on the grand scheme of things, they will counter attack any team. They did that last Euros against Germany. When looking back at that game, and I think they'll do it this season. I think they are most efficient when they are counter attacking, and I think this will play into their factors. They've got fast players, they've got a good side. As I said, I think every World Cup you get the type of teams like Portugal. They've always got the same players: Ronaldo, Costa, João Felix, Neves, all of that. And yeah, I think from the grand scheme of things, Portugal's defence isn't that great. It's still using Pepe, and as I said, he's still going by with Porto. But yeah, I just don't think their defence is that great. As I said, Guerrero, yeah, as Dortmund fans will know that he's not great as a defender. He's great going forward, and I think that relies on Portugal as well. As I said, Cancelo, he's a good player, but he goes too far forward as much because he's great going forward. And I think this will be Portugal's downfall, because if they can't break down the team, then they will be hit on their counter as well, and they might lose in the grand scheme of things. So, as I said, Portugal will need to definitely wake up for the next game. But yeah, and into the knockouts as well. But yeah, Ghana, fair play to them. They did a very good job. As I said, it's unlucky for them, but as I said, they've got to show heart. And their manager Otto Addo, as I said, he used to be a Dortmund player. He used to work for Dortmund under Terzic, so he knows. As I said, that's how he's got his coach license. So, and the way Ghana have gone through so far with the World Cup, they can have a better opportunity than the likes of Cameroon and Senegal. So, it could be any teams. As I said, also today was Uruguay versus South Korea. That was a 0-0. Didn't see it because I was work, but I think Uruguay. As I said, they got Nunes, but that team's aging as well. They're still using Godin, and so I just don't know if they will click in time. But yeah, I think Ghana could have a chance at second place if they can show the fight against the two teams, against Korea and Uruguay.
Yeah, I kind of agree, John. We've mentioned a lot about aging teams in this so far on the show, and for me, a bit of a problem can certainly be that in a lot of World Cups. I feel like there's a lot. I mean, there's some players you're looking at in this tournament and going, "Why are these still here in 2022?" I feel like at club level they're playing at pretty low levels and stuff, and they're playing in leagues to wind down and retire. But I feel like because of their names, it's almost as if the national team they just want to take them because they've got that name. And I think sometimes that can work. I think that you look at a player like Diego Godin and say, obviously he's won La Liga with Atletico Madrid before, scored some huge goals in his career, obviously Champions League final. Unfortunately, Atletico didn't win that game in 2014, but he obviously was seconds away from being the match winner in a Champions League final. A big player. And I think even Luis Suarez, I mean, a legend of the game, no doubt, but I mean, looking at Suarez playing today, it just didn't look the same. It was almost as if Suarez was a shell of the player he was when I last saw him play a few seasons ago. And I just think that too many teams, in my opinion, have been victim of that, picking players because of their name. Watching like Vertonghen and Alderweireld yesterday, it's like, it's not 2015 anymore. What's going on here? Like, it makes me think, these were great players, no doubt about that, but I feel like that's what the trap a lot of countries fall into, is taking too much of the old guard when, yes, you need that experience, but also you need to give other players a chance, young players a chance. And I think that's why I give Luis Enrique a lot of praise for not taking Sergio Ramos, because it would be easy to take a player like Ramos with his character, but I feel like you're taking the opportunity away from a younger centre-back then to make his chance on the big stage. So I feel like that's certainly been a problem in this tournament is, Dani Alves at Brazil's still here. I'm Dani Alves again, a legend of the game, but he's 39 years old or something. So, it's I mean, I know that's because Brazil are limited in that area, but still, I mean, it's just to be taking players like this in 2022 just feels so bizarre. But speaking of Brazil, though, Jordan, that's the final team we're going to touch on this evening. A 2-0 win against Serbia. I mean, to be honest, I was quite impressed with Serbia in this game defensively. The only issue, as I mentioned you before we went on air, was that I feel like Serbia didn't show any ambition going forward. And, Brazil are a very good team on paper, and I think they deserve to be respected. But do you feel like with how many upsets we've seen in this tournament, because Serbia have got some quality players, the likes of Tadic, Mitrovic, obviously, who's been in great form for Fulham this season, leading the line, and obviously brought on Vlahovic towards the end as well. Do you feel like with Serbia, it's more of, with teams against Brazil, they've got to not show that fear factor? Because I feel like having a fear factor against Brazil, there's only so long you can sit back against this team. And ultimately, in the end, they came unstuck. And Richarlison, to be fair to him, that second goal was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, Richarlison seems to be a different player when he puts on a Brazil shirt. He's been absolutely fantastic. I think it's 9 goals in his last 7 games for him. He's in terrific form. And Brazil, I mean, they weren't fantastic, but they've arrived at the World Cup and a win for them, 3 points on the board.
Yeah, as I said, Brazil got the quality on the paper. As I said, and with the lack to them, as I said, any team will be scared to face against them. But as I say, you got to show some ambition. You got to show some fight. And Serbia, they've got some fighters in that team. But as I said, if they don't, the whole 11, if they don't show up, then it's just going to affect them. As I said, it affected them in this game. As I said, they've got some tall players. As you said briefly, as I said, they could have done something with it. But as I said, if you can't take your chance, if you can't show any ambition to get forward, I know Brazil can hit you on the counter attack. As I said, they got some quick, fast players. As I said, 1 minute, you could be on the opposition's end, next week you'll score. But yeah, Brazil, as I said, they've got a good chance to win the World Cup. As I said, Richarlison, he's got a good chance to showcase his name. As I said, he's moving to Tottenham. As I said, it's been okay. He scored a few goals, but then he's been injured as well. So coming back, and as I said, Gabriel Jesus could have had a decent chance to be in the starting 11, but as I said, his form's been patchy, and as I said, he hasn't scored that much for Arsenal as a lot of fans would have predicted. So I can see why Richarlison scored and him being in the starting 11. But yeah, when it comes to it, I think Brazil, as I said, they've got a good chance. But yeah, teams need to show up against them, because we've all known what happened in 2014 when they faced Germany. That I know this is going a long way forward. That's coming back to 8 years, but still, you got to be in any team anyway. You got to look at Brazil and say, you can give them credit, but you got to say, this is what I can do, and this is why at the World Cup you got to showcase what you can do as a player and as a team, because it's all great having the characters, and those like say Neymar. We can, as I said, we know what his qualities are like, and Vinicius Junior, great players. But on the other side, you've got to showcase yourself. What can you do? You might not be a big enough player. As I said, you might be playing for a middle club in any leagues. But then, as I said, the World Cup is where you showcase yourself. A lot of players getting recognised then. So teams like Serbia need to say, look, if I want to go for my career, then let's face Brazil head on and let's fight together. And I think that just wasn't the case today. So yeah, as I said, Brazil a great side. We'll see what they do in the knockout stages, but yeah, it's going to be very different.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jordan. I think that as well, for me, something Brazil have kind of got to get away from in this tournament is their reliance on Neymar. And I don't necessarily even, I've always thought the Brazil reliance on Neymar has always been a touch too far, because I feel like, Neymar's obviously been a very good player throughout his career. But, I think I agreed with it in 2014, because you look back at Brazil's squad in 2014, on paper, it really wasn't actually a great squad. I think when you look back at the likes of Fred and Hulk who were in there, and Oscar, obviously, who went on to go on to China. Looking at that team, it wasn't great. But I think, though, Brazil have brought through some players since then who've been really, really good players. And obviously, I've had the pleasure of watching Vinicius Junior quite a lot this year, living in Madrid. And he honestly is. He's a fantastic player, Vinicius. And what he does is, even when he doesn't score, he'll always have a moment in a game that really lifts fans off their seats. And I feel like Vinicius is a player who, yes, he might not be the main man, but today he played a part in both goals. For me, Vinicius is arguably more important to this team now than Neymar is. I feel like Neymar obviously has got more pedigree because obviously he's a bit older and he's obviously done stuff in his club career. But for me, I think Vinicius Junior for me could be Brazil's main man. If Brazil go on and win this tournament, it reminds me a little bit of Mbappe in 2018. However, Vinicius is a bit older than Mbappe was,
Yeah,
but it reminds me a little bit of that where Vinicius, yes, he's proved himself now on the Champions League stage. And the World Cup for me would be ideal, and I think. Like you said, John, I think that if teams go at Brazil, though, I feel like this Brazil team can be got at. I think they've got two world class goalkeepers, yes, but in front of the goalkeepers, I don't. I mean, Thiago Silva's a great player, been brilliant for Chelsea, but I still think he can be got at, Thiago Silva, and I still feel like Brazil have got a defence that if a team goes at them, they can cause problems. And it only takes Brazil's forwards to have a bit of an off day for a team to catch them on a bad day and take advantage. You never know. I think Brazil. Yes, they got the win, but for me, it wasn't fully convincing. And I feel like if a team shows a bit more ambition than Serbia, they can cause Brazil problems.
yeah, and that's true. As I said, Allison, a great keeper, and as I said, we all know what Edison's like as well. They're two good keepers. You can rely on both of them. But yeah, the defence, as I said, Marquinhos and Silva, not great. But I think that's why Brazil rely on their forwards and Vinicius Junior. If he wins the World Cup, then you can just pat himself on the back. As I said, he played a huge role against Real Madrid to win the Champions League. They won the La Liga. Real Madrid, as I said, Real Madrid. If we've got a great enough squad, we've got Rodrigo as well. As I said, he will play his part. As I said, he's not a main and a star, but Brazilian players always got that type of flair to them. With the likes of Ronaldinho back in the day and even Ronaldo, them type of players that you look up when you first go into football and you see these type of Brazilian players. You wouldn't say I want to be like that because Brazil have always had that type of squad where they can showcase what they can do, and I think a lot of players should look up to Brazil. Yeah, you don't want to see the theatrics of Neymar because we know what he's like when he gets tackled, and yeah, we could talk for ages about what Neymar's like when he's off the ball. But yeah, the flair is there for Brazil. But yeah, going back to any team, they just need to hit them hard. Germany did that. I know I'm always going about it from 2014, but it's stuck in my memory how they hit them hard and hit them fast. And this is why teams should just look at that because you could see the way Brazil's confidence just zapped within seconds. And this, it played, in 2018, it was more or less the same. As I said, they come against a good squad and they can be beaten. So, no team's perfect. As I said, even France, we haven't touched on them briefly. Yeah, they won against Australia. They were down 1-0 and things could have changed there, but, we know what coaches of France got. So it's going to be where if two teams have got great attacking players, it's going to be one of them who outscores each other. That's why I bring England into this. Like I said at the start of the show, their defenses are great, but their attack is good. And I think a lot of these teams have great attacking players, but their defense is their downfall. And I'd say, as I said, France have got a good defense, but it will depend. But yeah, I think this World Cup is going to have a lot of few shocks, and I'm looking forward to it. As I said, I wasn't ambitious about England. I wasn't really feeling the excitement for it. But once the first game hit against Qatar, I could feel it's the World Cup, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be watching each game when I can, and I'll be watching the England game tomorrow. But yeah, going back to Brazil before we stop talking about them. Yeah, great side. Going forward, you can always rely on them. Great uh, goalkeepers, but yeah, the defense is iffy. Midfield, as I said, it's just as you said, they play on a 4-3-3. As I said, 4-3-3 isn't a great formation. A lot of teams can work with it, but as I said, you're too attacking with it, and you can't really defend when you're 4-3-3. So this is why if teams like Serbia attacked, it could have been, let's say, maybe 2-2, maybe even 3-1. But we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, I agree, John. I feel like, say teams in this tournament. I mean, I know you mentioned a few times the Brazil Germany game from 2014. I've literally not spoke to anyone on this show yet who hasn't mentioned that game. So it's obviously one like, I mean, I
I don't
remember
know
watching it
why, but
live and,
that's the first thing I
you
think
looked
of
at the
Brazil.
game, obviously, and the way Brazil players were acting with Neymar's absence. And you always
Yeah, as I said, I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I mean, it's a real shame. In Brazil, obviously, a legendary football team, 5 World Cups, and I do think with that tournament being in their own backyard as well. And for me, they were very lucky in that tournament to get to the semi-final because let's be honest, they scraped a lot of the games. They beat Chile on penalties. They were quite fortunate to beat Colombia in the quarter-final, and I feel like their luck well and truly ran out in the semi-final in a very, very bad way. And again, it was, I mean, for me, in terms of international football, I don't think anything was probably ever going to top that, to be honest. It generally was a humiliation in so many ways. For it to be the host nation as well, Brazil, it was honestly, it was incredible, to be honest, to see. I remember watching it live. Well, that's enough about 2014. We'll focus on this year's World Cup. And that's about it, Jordan. The final question I want to ask you, though, is England's score prediction for the game tomorrow. At the time of recording, anyway, the game will be tomorrow night against USA. So, obviously, this game happened back in 2010, but that was 12 years ago. A lot's changed for both teams since then. Obviously, 2010, another iconic World Cup moment in that game for all the wrong reasons for England fans, though. We won't go too much into it, but we all know what happened with Rob Green, of course, in that game. Um, but this game, though, John, you've got to feel England have got to be the favourites. Obviously, US won't be easy. I feel like USA have got certain players in that team who can hurt England. Pulisic is a different player when he puts on the USA shirt. Wales certainly looks a decent player as well. They've got some talent, USA, and if England aren't careful, they could come a little bit unstuck. But with the confidence England are going to have from the Iran game, surely you can only imagine an England win count, can't we?
Yeah, but then again, this is England because, like, you just remember, like, what happened in the Euros. As I said, the second game was against Scotland. Yeah, that was a nil-nil, but Scotland, if they took their chance, they could have won. This is what scares me about England, because I said they look free-flowing at times, but then in the other day, they can just fall flat. And this is my worry. But as I said, I will predict an England win out of being pessimistic. But I do think they've got too much quality for US, for the Americans to handle. It's going to be a lot. Yeah, as I said, Pulisic, he's a great player. I've known him from the time at Dortmund, and when he puts on the USA shirt, he's a different type of player, and he's the type of player that Chelsea fans scream about because they really want that type of player to play for Chelsea. And as I said, with Pulisic, because he's very hit and miss at times. But even that Musa, he's very fast. And I think if England, are slow coming out the tracks, they can. The Americans can hurt us. But in the grand scheme of things, I think England should have too much quality for them, and I will predict England win, and I will predict it to be 3-1.
Yeah, that's a good call, Jordan. Now I'm going to go 2-0 to England. I feel like I said that on every show so far. I think that England are going to win. I don't think it'll be easy. And you mentioned a really good point, Jordan, about the game against Scotland. I mean, different, of course, with it being at the Euros. I think that obviously the Croatia game was a win in that first game, and that's something. It wasn't convincing. We won 1-0. We did the job. I still don't think England was so confident going into that Scotland game, and Scotland played really, really. England were poor on that day, but Scotland did play really well. To be fair to them, but to be honest, I think that my optimism's obviously gone up like a lot of people due to the Iran result, but I'm still not forgetting how pessimistic we were coming into this tournament. Really, after such a poor Nations League, and
Mm.
yes, the USA drew with Wales disappointingly, but they're still a team, the US, in my opinion, who can cause us so many issues. I think that they played some good football the other night against Wales, and if they do that against England, they can have some joy. And I don't think it's going to be a pushover. However, I do think England should have enough to get the job done. And if we do get the job done, we'll be through. Obviously, if Wales were to beat Iran, though, then we lost to Wales, we'd finish second. So for me, we've still got to do the job in the final game against Wales if we do win. I think that for me, second space in this group could be very interesting as well. But obviously, we'll just focus on England. And also, Jordan, if England make it through, we've got Group A, Netherlands, Senegal, Ecuador, and Qatar. I wouldn't mind facing any of them personally. I don't know about you, but if England went through first or second, I'd fancy us to beat all four of them teams. How it won't be easy against, especially against any of the teams, to be honest. I mean, possibly Qatar, but the others definitely not. So, what are your thoughts on that, Jordan? Who would you want to face in the last 16? Maybe don't say Qatar because that's obviously too obvious. At the three teams that we could realistically face.
I mean, you read my mind. I want to face Qatar because it's Qatar. But no, jokes aside, whoever is second place, it could be Holland because Holland, as I said, they can be iffy at times. They don't have that strike force. The pies there, but yeah, it's going to be one of them. Senegal, Ecuador, they are two good sides. So I think whatever happens, it won't be easy for England. And I think that's why I think whenever England are the favourites, that's when it plays into their factor as well because they like to be underdogs. And I think that's why whenever they get the confidence, it helps. I'm sorry I keep on going back to the Euros, but look at what happened at Germany. As I said, Germany were the favourites. I know their form wasn't great, but England, as I said, they build from that victory. And yes, England can face like these teams where they will be winning them easily and might have a lucky run. But you got to beat the teams who you face in front of you. And regardless of, as I said, being Holland, Senegal, or even Ecuador, any of them teams can hurt England, but we should be able to hurt them as well. So I don't really mind who we face. If it's against Holland, then I will be a bit pessimistic because I think Holland with Van Gaal look very good. But as I said, they are a type of team that focus on chemistry as well. They've got some good players, as I said. That Frankie De Jong, he's a good player. As I said, he wants to showcase himself because the way he is with Barcelona. A lot of teams want to look at him. We know what Van Dijk is like. As I said, he's a good enough player. As I said, he has his moments where he can slip up, but then again, he's a good enough defender. And yeah, I think Holland will be a tough team to face. Ecuador should be able to beat them. Senegal, they are a team to watch out for. As I said, we know that from last time. Senegal the African teams can hit you the most when you least expect it. But I think England should do the job in their group. Hopefully they can get top spot. That's what I'm predicting, and that's what I hope for. I know it relies on maybe the last game. It depends. But if they beat the USA tomorrow, then look against Wales on Tuesday. Then it can rotate a bit because I think that's what England need the most. Because I know Harry Kane should be fit to play tomorrow. He's had a scan, but he looks fit to play. But this is where it worries me. If you play too much of your players that know that can win you a game, the sub benches are going to look great. As I said, Rashford got his goal on Monday. Good enough for him. As I said, he needs to enjoy his football, and it was a good goal. Grealish scored, and fair play to him when he, his form's not been great, but when he puts an English, he's a bit of a different player as well. So England need to showcase what they can do. As I say, we haven't been that optimistic, but as I say, we need to be behind them. And if they can go far, it'll be a great story because England fans need it the most. We've had so much years of hurt, so much years of being tormented by rival nations laughing at us. But we got to showcase what we can do. And as I said, who else is going to have a good chance? As I say, we've got to do what we've got to do, and I hope England can go far.
Yeah, I agree, Jordan. Obviously, like you say, it's been so many years of hurt. Obviously, we've kind of grew up in an era where England have had a lot of expectation going into tournaments, never really worked out. I mean, obviously, first team I watched was our golden generation, and every tournament you go into, you'd be optimistic, but never quite happened for us. And I feel like, to be fair to Gareth Southgate, the guy has his critics, but before Southgate became England manager, let's be honest, we were really bit of a laughing stock, to be honest, with the team that we were. So I do think, getting us to a semi-final and a final, he certainly deserves credit. I mean, he's just got to take us that one step further now, and we'll see if it can happen. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the rest of the tournament. That win against Iran has got me optimistic. Huge game though tomorrow. Absolutely huge, no doubt about that.
I
Cannot
can't.
wait for it. But yeah, thank you though for joining me. Yeah,
But
thank you for
yeah,
joining me though, Jordan. I really appreciate it. I could speak all night about World Cup football. I'm sure I could, or even any sort of football. But we'll have to wrap it up here. And
oh
yeah,
yes,
what a good World Cup so far. I mean, 4-0 obviously a bit disappointing. There's only one in the entire of 2018 in Russia. Bit disappointing with just with the 4-0, but I feel like World Cups generally you get a lot of cagey games, a lot of games where defences come out on top, and I feel like that's kind of been the story at times, whether it be a lack of quality going forward or defences coming out on top. It's been a bit of both so far. But as for England, though, let's hope for a win, and also let's hope we can obviously win the group as well. But I'm excited for the rest of the tournament. I want to be optimistic about England in this tournament, so fingers crossed that football comes home, eh?
yeah. Well, it's got to because, as I said, I can't wait anymore. I'm impatient, but come on, it's coming home.
I'm not even in the country, so if it does come home, then well, I mean, I'll be coming home for Christmas to see my family a few days later, but
Well, we
I
can
won't even
celebrate that.
I'm not even in the country. If it's an
Mm.
England-Spain final, then my God, I mean, this is gonna be difficult for me out
Yeah.
here. But I
If that
mean,
happens, I'll
you,
wish you luck, and I'll try and defend you.
yeah.
I'll fly over to Madrid and defend you. Yeah, because oh god, I would not look at your chances of being round the Spanish there. Oh god, they'll target you.
No, I think I'd just hide in my room, to be honest, and watch the
Yeah,
game. But either way, I mean, look, to be honest, with the way both teams have started the tournament, they both could go far. I'm not sure what the routes would actually look like, and but whether they can meet in whatever stage. But whenever they do, they do end up meeting in this tournament. I'm sure it'll be a great game. But let's wait and see. A lot of optimism from an England fan point of view right now, and let's just hope it goes well.
yeah,
Hopefully, great atmosphere. I'm sure the atmospheres are fantastic back in England, but obviously they're even great here in Spain with the English fans who are living out here. To be honest, so let's hope it all goes well. Let's hope for a win tomorrow, please. 6 points out of 6, England. But yeah, like I say, Jordan, it's coming home.
yes, it's coming home, and come on, England, to make us proud because that's what we need.
Yeah. That is definitely what we need. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me again, Jordan. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. And thank you for everyone for watching as well.
Bye.